Park Dae-ho woke up the same way he had for the past 3 years. The alarm beeped twice, the lights came on slowly, and the smell of recycled air filled his small room. He sat up on his bed and looked out the window at the same view he always saw. Rocks, dust, empty space. The asteroid he called home was not beautiful, but it was quiet, and quiet was what he wanted. He walked to the small kitchen and made his breakfast, rice and dried vegetables, the same meal he ate every morning. His AI companion, a simple program he called Bomi, greeted him through the speakers. "Good morning, Dae-ho. You slept for 6 hours and 12 minutes. Your health is normal. There are no messages." "Thank you, Bomi," he said. There were never any messages. He had made sure of that when he left Earth. Dae-ho was a salvage engineer. His job was to find old ships and stations that people had left behind and take them apart for useful pieces. It was lonely work, but he was good at it. His hands knew how to fix things: engines, computers, life support systems. If it was broken, he could make it work again. After breakfast, he put on his work suit and went outside. The asteroid had no air, so he had to wear the suit whenever he left the station. He walked across the gray ground toward a ship he had been working on for 2 weeks. It was an old cargo vessel, probably 50 years old. Most of it was junk, but the engine still had good parts. He worked for several hours, cutting metal and pulling out wires. The work was slow and careful. He liked it that way. No rushing, no mistakes, just him and the machine. Then Bomi spoke in his helmet. "Dae-ho, I am detecting an unregistered vessel. It has entered the asteroid's gravity field." He stopped working and looked up at the black sky. "What kind of vessel?" "Unknown design. It is not human. The ship is falling. It will crash on the far side of the asteroid in approximately 4 minutes. Dae-ho felt his heart beat faster. In 3 years, no ship had ever come to this asteroid. It was too far from the main travel routes, too empty, too useless. Why would anyone come here? "Is it sending any signals?" he asked. "No signals detected. The ship appears to be badly damaged." He made a decision quickly. He ran back to the station, got into his small transport vehicle, and drove across the asteroid as fast as he could. The ground was rough, and the vehicle shook hard, but he did not slow down. He saw the smoke before he saw the ship. A trail of black dust rising from behind a hill of rocks. When he came over the hill, he saw the crash site. The ship had hit the ground hard and slid for a long distance, leaving a deep scar in the dirt. It was a small vessel, maybe built for 1 or 2 people. The design was strange. Smooth curves and soft edges, not like human ships at all. Dae-ho stopped his vehicle and got out. He walked toward the ship carefully. He did not know if it was dangerous. He did not know if anyone inside was alive. The ship's hull was cracked open on one side. He looked through the crack and saw the inside, control panels with strange symbols, lights that flickered on and off. And in the pilot's seat, a figure. It was a woman. At least she looked like a woman. Her skin was pale blue, like the color of ice. Her hair was white and long, spread across her shoulders. She was not moving. Dae-ho climbed into the ship. The air inside was thin but breathable. He moved to the woman and checked her body. She was breathing, but barely. There was blood on her head, dark purple instead of red. Her eyes were closed. He looked at her face. She was beautiful in a way he had never seen before. Her features were delicate, almost like they were carved from stone. But she was hurt badly, and if he did not help her, she would die. He did not think about it for long. He picked her up carefully, holding her body against his chest. She was lighter than he expected. He carried her out of the ship and put her in his vehicle. "Bomi," he said as he drove back to the station, "prepare the medical room. I have an injured passenger. She is not human." "Understood. I will do my best, but I have no medical data on non-human species." "Then we will learn together." He brought her into the station and laid her on the medical bed. Bomi scanned her body and showed the results on a screen. Broken ribs, internal bleeding, head injury. The AI did not know how to treat her, but Daeho knew the basics. Stop the bleeding, stabilize the body, keep her warm. He worked for 2 hours. He cleaned her wounds and wrapped her ribs. He gave her fluids through a tube he put in her arm. He did everything he could think of, even though he was not sure if it would work on her alien body. Finally, he sat down in a chair next to the bed. He was tired. His hands were shaking. But she was still alive. Her breathing was stronger now, more steady. He watched her face as she slept. Who was she? Where did she come from? Why did she crash on this empty rock in the middle of nowhere? Then her eyes opened. They were silver, bright like metal, and they looked right at him. For a moment, there was confusion in them. Then the confusion turned to fear. Her body went stiff. Her mouth opened, and she made a sound that was not words, just pure terror. She tried to get up, tried to get away from him, but her body was too weak. She fell back on the bed, crying out in pain. Daeho held up his hands and stepped back. "It's okay," he said softly. "I won't hurt you. You're safe." But she did not understand him. She kept looking at him with those silver eyes full of fear, and he realized something that made his chest feel tight. She was afraid of him, not because he had done anything wrong, but because he was human. She looked at him like he was a monster. Then her eyes closed again, and she was unconscious. Daeho stood there in the quiet room, looking at the alien woman on his bed, and he wondered what kind of stories her people told about humans. He decided it did not matter. She was hurt, and he would help her. That was what he did. He fixed broken things. He pulled a blanket over her body and sat back down in his chair. He would wait. When she woke up again, he would show her that she had nothing to fear. He hoped she would believe him. Daeho did not sleep that night. He sat in his chair and watched the alien woman. Sometimes she moved in her sleep. Sometimes she made small sounds of pain. But she did not wake up again until morning. When she opened her eyes, she did not scream like before. She lay very still and looked around the room. Her silver eyes moved from the walls to the ceiling to the machines next to her bed. Then they moved to Daeho. He saw the fear come back into her face, but this time she controlled it. She was studying him, trying to understand what he would do. Daeho stood up slowly. He kept his hands where she could see them. "Good morning," he said in a calm voice. "How do you feel?" She said something in her own language. The words were soft and musical, but he could not understand any of them. Her voice was weak, and she coughed after speaking. He pointed to himself. "Daeho," he said. Then he pointed to her and raised his eyebrows, asking the question without words. She understood. She touched her chest with one hand. "Vela," she said. "Vela?" He nodded. "That's a nice name." She tried to sit up, but the pain stopped her. She held her side where her ribs were broken and made a sharp sound through her teeth. Daeho moved toward her without thinking, wanting to help. But she pulled away from him, pressing her back against the wall behind the bed. Her eyes were wide and he could see her body shaking. He stopped and stepped back. He held up his hands again. "I'm sorry," he said. "I won't touch you. I just want to help." She did not understand his words, but maybe she understood his voice. After a moment, some of the tension left her body. She was still afraid, but she was not in complete panic anymore. Daeho walked to the kitchen area and came back with a cup of water and a small bowl of soft food. He put them on a table next to the bed, then moved away and sat down in his chair on the other side of the room. Vela looked at the food and water. She looked at him. Then, very slowly, she reached out and took the cup. She smelled the water first, then took a small drink. When nothing bad happened, she drank more. She ate the food the same way, careful, suspicious, but hungry. Daeho watched her and felt sad. What had humans done to make her so afraid? What stories had she heard about his people? When she finished eating, she looked at him again. She pointed to herself, then to the door, then made a gesture with her hand that clearly meant leave. She wanted to go. Daeho shook his head. He stood up and pointed for her to follow him. She did not move at first, but when he walked to the door and waited, her curiosity won against her fear. She got out of bed slowly, holding her ribs, and followed him. He took her to his workshop. It was a large room filled with tools and machine parts. He had brought pieces of her ship here during the night. Vela saw the parts and made a sound of surprise. She moved closer, looking at the broken pieces of her vessel. Then she saw the engine. Her face changed. She touched the engine with her fingers, then looked back at Daeho with a question in her eyes. He picked up a piece of metal and showed it to her. It had been cut clean, not broken. Then he showed her another piece, same thing, and another. Vela's face went pale, paler than it already was. She understood what he was showing her. Her ship did not crash because of an accident. Someone had cut these parts on purpose. Someone had wanted her to crash. She said something in her language. Her voice was angry and afraid at the same time. She touched one of the cut pieces and said a word that sounded like a name. Then she looked at the floor, and Daeho saw something he did not expect. Tears. Purple tears rolling down her blue cheeks. He did not move toward her. He did not try to comfort her. He knew she was not ready for that. Instead, he picked up a tool and started working on one of the broken parts. Vela watched him. He worked quietly, not looking at her, just focusing on the machine in his hands. After a few minutes, she wiped her face and came closer. He showed her what he was doing. The part was damaged, but he could fix it. He pointed to the part, then to her ship, then made a gesture of putting things together. He was telling her he would repair her ship. She stared at him for a long time. He could see her thinking, trying to understand why he would do this. He was human. Humans were dangerous. Humans were selfish. Why would he help her? She pointed to herself, then to him, then made the same putting together gesture. She was asking if she could help. Daeho nodded. He handed her a small tool and showed her how to use it. They worked together for the rest of the day. They could not talk, but they did not need to. Daeho showed her what to do with his hands, and she learned quickly. She was smart. She understood machines. When evening came, they were both tired. Daeho made food for both of them, and they sat in the workshop and ate together. There was still distance between them. She still watched him with careful eyes, but the fear was a little less than before. After the meal, she touched her throat and then pointed to a small device on the table. It was her translator, the machine that should let her understand other languages. It had been damaged in the crash. Daeho picked it up and looked at it. It was complicated technology, more advanced than anything humans had. But he could see the basic structure: power source, processor, output speakers. He pointed to the device, then to his tools, then to his head. He was telling her he would try to fix it. She nodded. There was something new in her silver eyes now. Not trust, not yet, but maybe the beginning of it. That night, Daeho worked on the translator while Vela slept. He opened it carefully, studying each part. Some pieces were broken completely. Others just needed cleaning and reconnecting. He worked until his eyes burned from tiredness. But he kept going, because he knew that when she could finally understand his words, he could show her the truth. He was not her enemy. He was not a monster. He was just a man who fixed broken things. And right now, she was the most broken thing he had ever found. 3 days passed. Each day, Daeho and Vela worked on her ship. Each day, she became a little less afraid of him. The damage was worse than Daeho first thought. The engine was destroyed in many places. The power system had failed completely. The hull had cracks that let air escape. If Vela wanted to fly again, he would have to rebuild almost everything. He did not complain. He just worked. Every morning, he woke up early and went to the workshop. He laid out his tools and looked at the broken pieces. Then he started fixing them one by one. It was slow work. Careful work, the kind of work he loved. Vela tried to help, but her body was still weak. Her ribs hurt when she moved too much. Her head still had pain if she stood for too long. Deho could see her getting frustrated. She wanted to do more, but her body would not let her. On the third morning, she picked up a heavy tool and tried to work on the engine. But her hands were shaking, and she dropped the tool on the floor. She said something angry in her language and hit the table with her fist. Deho walked over to her. He did not touch her, but he stood close and pointed to a chair. Then he pointed to her ribs and shook his head. Rest. You need to rest. She looked at him with frustration in her silver eyes. But then she took a deep breath and sat down in the chair. She watched him work instead. He could feel her eyes on him as he moved around the workshop. She was studying him, learning him, trying to understand what kind of creature he was. He talked to Bomi while he worked. He always talked to Bomi. It helped him think. The power coupling is burned out, he said to the AI. I need to rebuild it from the ground up. That will take significant time, Bomi replied through the speakers. The design is not compatible with human systems. I know, but I can adapt. I've done it before. He felt Vela's eyes on him as he spoke to the AI. She could not understand his words, but she could hear his tone. Calm, patient, focused. She pointed at the speakers and made a questioning sound. Deho pointed to himself, then to the speakers. Bomi, he said. My friend. Vela looked confused. She pointed at the speakers again, then around the room, asking where this friend was. Deho smiled a little. He pointed to his head. Bomi lives in the computer. She talks to me. She helps me. He knew Vela did not understand his words, but she understood the idea. He was alone here, and he talked to a machine for company. Her face changed. The confusion became something softer, maybe sadness, maybe understanding. She was alone, too. That afternoon, Deho made a discovery. He was examining one of the cut pieces from her ship when he noticed something. The cut was very clean, too clean. It was made by a tool that knew exactly where to cut to cause the most damage with the least evidence. This was not random sabotage. This was professional. Someone who knew ships, who knew exactly how to make one fail at the right moment. He showed the cut to Vela. He pointed to it, then made a gesture of someone using a tool. She understood. She nodded slowly, and her face became hard and cold. She pointed to herself, then far away in a direction, then made a gesture that looked like a crown or a throne. Then she pointed to another direction and made a different gesture. A fist. Power. Force. Deho tried to understand. She was from one place, a place with leaders or royalty. But someone else, someone with power and force, wanted something from her. She touched the cut on the metal. Then she made the fist gesture again. The person with power did this. The person with power tried to kill her. Deho felt anger rise in his chest. He did not know the full story. He did not know who this powerful person was, or why they wanted Vela dead. But he knew enough. Someone had tried to murder her, and she had barely survived. He looked at her and made a gesture with his hands. He pointed to the engine, then to her ship, then pressed his hands together and moved them apart. Fixed, whole, working. He would finish the repair. He would make her ship fly again. Vela looked at him for a long moment. Her silver eyes searched his face, looking for lies, looking for hidden purposes. She did not find any. She nodded once, a small movement, but it meant everything. She was starting to trust him. That evening, Dae-ho worked on her translator again. He had made progress, but it was slow. The technology was so different from human machines. But he was learning. Piece by piece, he was figuring it out. Vela sat next to him and watched. She pointed to parts and made sounds, trying to tell him what they did. He listened carefully. Even though he could not understand her words, her tone helped. Her gestures helped. They worked together late into the night. Two people who could not speak to each other, trying to build a bridge. Finally, Dae-ho connected the last wire and turned on the device. It made a soft humming sound. Lights flickered on its surface. He held it out to Vela. She took it carefully and placed it near her ear. Then she looked at him and waited. Dae-ho spoke slowly. "Can you understand me?" Her eyes went wide. Her mouth opened in surprise. Then she spoke, and for the first time, he heard her words in his own language. "Yes," she said. Her voice was shaking. "Yes, I can understand you." Dae-ho felt something warm in his chest. It was the first real conversation they would have, the first time they could actually talk. "Good," he said. "Then I think we have a lot to talk about." She nodded. There were tears in her eyes again, but this time they were not from sadness. "Yes," she said. "I think we do." She paused, looking at him with an expression he could not fully read. "But first," she said, "I want to say something. 2 words. I have been wanting to say them for 3 days." She took a breath. "Thank you." Dae-ho smiled. It was a small smile, but real. "You're welcome," he said. And for the first time since she crashed on his asteroid, Vela smiled back. Now that they could talk, the silence of the station changed. It became filled with words. Vela had many questions. She asked about the station, about the asteroid, about why Dae-ho lived here alone. She asked about Earth and humans and the machines he used. She asked about Bomi and why he treated an AI like a friend. Dae-ho answered all her questions. He spoke simply and clearly, and she listened with complete attention. Sometimes she stopped him to ask about words she did not know. The translator was working, but it was not perfect. Some ideas were hard to move from one language to another. On the 5th day, as they sat in the workshop taking a break from work, Vela asked the question he knew was coming. "Why are you here?" she asked. "Alone. So far from everything. Why did you choose this?" Dae-ho looked at his hands. They were rough and scarred from years of work. He did not usually talk about himself, but she had trusted him with her life. He could trust her with his story. "I was a soldier," he said, "an engineer in the military. I built things and fixed things for the war effort." "War with who?" "Other humans. There was a conflict. 2 sides fighting over resources, over territory. I was on one side because that was where I was born, not because I believed in the cause." Vela nodded slowly. "And what happened?" "I got tired." He paused, looking for the right words. "I got tired of building things that killed people. I got tired of fixing ships so they could go out and destroy other ships. I wanted to use my hands for something else, something better." "So you left?" "I requested a discharge. They did not want to let me go, but I had served long enough. They had no choice." He looked around the workshop. "I came here, found this old station, started a new life." "Alone," Vela said. "Alone," he agreed. "It's quiet. No one asks me to build weapons. No one asks me to hurt anyone. I just fix old machines and sell the parts. It's a simple life." Vela was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You are not what I expected. Not what I was told humans would be." "What were you told?" She looked away. "That humans are violent, primitive, dangerous. That you conquered your own planet through blood and war, and now you want to conquer the galaxy the same way. That you cannot be trusted." Dae-ho felt a small pain in his chest, The words hurt because some of them were true. "We have done bad things," he said. "Humans have hurt many people. Other humans, other species. I cannot pretend we are innocent." "But you helped me," Vela said. "You found me, a stranger, an alien, and you saved my life. You are fixing my ship. Why?" "Because it was the right thing to do." She stared at him. "The right thing? That's all?" "That's all." She shook her head slowly. "In my culture, there is no such thing as helping without payment. Everything is debt. If you save someone's life, they owe you that life. If you give someone food, they owe you food in return. Debt is sacred. Debt must be repaid." Deho thought about this. "And what happens if the debt is not repaid?" "Shame, dishonor, sometimes punishment." She touched her chest. "I owe you a life debt, Deho, the greatest debt of all. By helping me, you have made me yours." He felt uncomfortable. "I don't want you to be mine. I don't want to own you or control you." "Then what do you want?" He thought carefully before answering. "I want to know that you're safe, that's all. I want you to fly away from here and live your life and be happy. That would be enough for me." Vela looked at him like he was speaking a language the translator could not handle, like his words made no sense at all. "You are a strange man, Park Deho," she said finally. He smiled a little. "Maybe. Now it's your turn. Tell me your story. Why were you running? Who tried to kill you?" She took a deep breath. The question was hard for her. He could see it in her face. But she answered, "I am from a noble family, a high house among my people, the Korath. We had power once, land, influence, but that was before. Before what? Before we lost a political battle. Another house rose against us. They were stronger. They had more allies. My family was destroyed. My parents died. My brothers were taken. I was the only one left." Deho felt a heaviness in his chest. "I'm sorry." She shook her head. "There is more. The house that destroyed us wanted to make peace. A political marriage. They wanted me to marry their warlord, a man named Torek." "And you didn't want to marry him?" "He killed my family." Her voice was cold and hard. "He burned my home. He laughed while my mother screamed. And then he came to me with flowers and jewels and said I should be his bride." She looked at Deho with fire in her silver eyes. "I would rather die." "So you ran." "I ran. I stole a ship and flew as far as I could. But he found me. He always finds what he wants. His people sabotaged my ship and I crashed here." She paused. "I thought I was going to die on this rock, alone, forgotten." "But you didn't die." "No, because of you." They sat in silence for a moment, two people with painful pasts, sharing them in the quiet of an empty asteroid. Then Deho stood up. He went to a small cabinet and took out 2 cups and a bottle of rice wine he had been saving for a special occasion. He poured the wine and handed a cup to Vela. She looked at it with curiosity, smelled it, and took a small drink. Her eyes went wide. "It's strong." "It's supposed to be." He raised his cup. "To survival." She raised her cup and touched it against his. "To survival," she repeated. They drank together. The wine was warm in their throats. "Deho," Vela said after a moment. "Yes? I still owe you a debt. I know you say you don't want payment, but in my culture this cannot be ignored. At some point, I will have to repay you." He nodded slowly. "When that time comes, we'll talk about it. But not today." She looked at him for a long moment, and he saw something in her eyes that had not been there before. Something that looked almost like hope. "Not today," she agreed. They finished their wine and went back to work. But something had changed between them. The wall was not gone, but it was lower now. They could see over it, and what they saw was not an enemy or a stranger. It was a friend. Deho sat up fast, his heart beating hard. The alarm was not loud, but it was serious. It meant something was wrong outside the station. "Bomi," he said, "report. I am detecting 3 vessels entering the asteroid field. They are not human ships. Their design matches the vessel that crashed here 8 days ago. Korath ships. Coming here." Deho got out of bed and ran to the control room. Vela was already there, standing in front of the main screen. Her face was pale, and her hands were shaking. "It's him," she said. "It's Torek." Deho looked at the screen. 3 ships were moving through the asteroid field, scanning rocks as they went. They were searching. "How did he find me?" Vela's voice was high with fear. "How did he know I was here?" "Your ship," Deho said. "It probably sent out a distress signal when you crashed. Even if it was weak, he could have tracked it." She put her hands over her face. "I should have thought of that. I should have disabled the signal. I was too hurt. I was not thinking clearly. It doesn't matter now. What matters is what we do next." She looked at him with desperate eyes. "I have to go. I have to get to my ship and fly away before they get here. If they find you helping me, they will kill you. Your ship isn't ready. The engine still needs 2 more days of work. Then I'll take what I can. I'll fly until the engine dies. It doesn't matter. I can't let them hurt you because of me." Deho grabbed her shoulders. It was the first time he had touched her, and she flinched, but he did not let go. "Listen to me," he said. "Running is not the answer. Your ship can't outfly those vessels, especially with a damaged engine. If you try to run, they will catch you. Then what? I surrender? I let him take me?" Tears were running down her face. "I will not marry that monster. I will not. You won't have to. I have another idea." He let go of her shoulders and turned to the control panel. His mind was racing, thinking through all his options. He had lived on this asteroid for 3 years. He knew every rock, every shadow, every hiding place. "Bomi," he said. "How long until those ships reach our position?" "At their current speed, approximately 40 minutes. 40 minutes. That was not much time. "Okay, here's what we're going to do." He started typing commands into the computer. "We're going to hide." Vela stared at him. "Hide? How do you hide from scanners?" "You don't hide from scanners. You make the scanners look somewhere else." He opened a map of the asteroid on the screen. He pointed to several locations marked with small symbols. "These are salvage sites, old ships, old stations, pieces of metal I've collected over the years. Some of them still have power cells. Some of them still have active signals." He typed more commands. On the screen, lights started appearing at each salvage site. Power was turning on. Signals were activating. Their scanners will pick up multiple targets. Life signs, energy signatures, distress signals, they won't know which one is real. Vela looked at him with wonder in her eyes. "You're making decoys. I'm making confusion. While they search all these false targets, we turn off everything in the station, no power, no heat, no signals. We become invisible. Will it work?" "It should. Their scanners are designed to find active signals. If we're not sending any signals, we're just another dead rock." He paused. "But it will be cold. Very cold. And we can't move or make any sound. If they send people down to search manually, we'll have to stay completely still." Vela nodded. Her fear was still there, but now there was something else in her eyes, too. Determination. "Tell me what to do," she said. They worked fast. Deho activated all the decoys while Vela helped him shut down the station's systems. Power off, heat off, lights off. They moved Vela's ship pieces into a storage container that was shielded from scanners. They put on heavy clothes to keep warm. Finally, there was nothing left to do but wait. They sat together in the dark control room. The only light came from the small screen showing the position of the Korath ships. They were getting closer. "Deho," Vela whispered. Yes? If this doesn't work, if they find us, she paused. I want you to know that I'm grateful for everything you've done. It's going to work, he said. But if it doesn't, then we'll figure out something else. I'm not going to let them take you, Vela, I promise. She was quiet for a moment. Then he felt her hand touch his in the darkness. Her fingers were cold, but her grip was strong. They watched the screen together. The Korath ships reached the asteroid. They slowed down and started scanning. On the screen, Dayho could see their scanner beams sweeping across the surface. The beams found the first decoy, then the second, then the third. The ships started moving toward the decoys, investigating each one. Dayho held his breath. Beside him, Vela was completely still. One of the ships came close to the station. Very close. The scanner beam passed over them once, twice, 3 times. The seconds felt like hours. Then the ship moved away. It went toward another decoy on the far side of the asteroid. More time passed. The ship searched every decoy, one by one. They scanned every piece of metal, every old power cell, every false signal. They found nothing alive. Finally, after what felt like forever, the ships turned around and flew away. They left the asteroid field and disappeared into deep space. Dayho let out his breath. His whole body relaxed. They're gone, he said. Vela made a sound that was half laugh, half sob. She squeezed his hand tighter. I thought they would find us, she said. I thought it was over. It's not over yet. They'll come back. When they don't find you anywhere else, they'll search this asteroid more carefully. He looked at her. We need to finish your ship. Fast. She nodded. Her silver eyes were bright with emotion. Then let's finish it, she said. Together. He smiled and squeezed her hand back. Together. They turned the power back on and got to work. They had bought themselves time, but not much. The warlord would not give up. He would keep hunting. But for now, they were safe. For now, they were alive. And for now, that was enough. Dayho stood in the hangar and looked at his work. The hull was sealed. The engine was rebuilt. The power systems were running perfectly. It was not the same ship that had crashed on the asteroid. It was better, stronger, faster. Vela walked around the ship slowly, touching the metal with her fingers. Her silver eyes were wide with amazement. I can't believe it, she said. You fixed everything. I told you I would. But some of this work. She pointed to the engine. This design. You didn't just repair it, you improved it. Dayho shrugged. I saw some things that could be better. I hope you don't mind. She laughed. It was the first time he had heard her laugh. The sound was light and musical, like her voice. Mind? This is incredible. No Korath engineer could have done this. She looked at him. How did you learn to work like this? Practice. A lot of practice. She shook her head. It's more than that. You understand machines. You see them differently than other people do. He did not know how to respond to that, so he said nothing. He just looked at the ship and felt satisfied. He had done good work. The ship would fly well. It would take her wherever she wanted to go. And that thought made him feel something else, something heavy in his chest. She was going to leave. When will you go? He asked. Vela stopped touching the ship. She turned to face him. Her expression was serious now. Soon, she said. Tonight or tomorrow morning. The longer I stay, the more danger I put you in. He nodded. He knew she was right, but still, he did not want her to go. The station would feel empty without her. The silence would feel heavier. Dayho, she said. Before I leave, there is something I need to say. Something I need to do. What is it? She stepped closer to him. Her silver eyes locked onto his face. He could see that she was preparing herself for something difficult. I owe you a life debt, she said. The greatest debt in my culture. You saved my life. You healed my body. You fixed my ship. You protected me from my enemies. By every law of my people, I belong to you. Deho started to speak, but she held up her hand. Let me finish, please. He closed his mouth and waited. In my culture, there is only one way to repay a life debt. I must give myself to you, completely, my body, my service, my loyalty, for the rest of my life. I must be yours. She reached up and touched the collar of her shirt. Her fingers trembled slightly, but her voice stayed steady. I am offering myself to you, Park Dae-ho. It is the only way I can repay what you have given me. If you accept, I will stay here with you. I will be whatever you need me to be. I will never leave your side. Dae-ho stared at her. He felt his heart beating hard in his chest. His mouth was dry. She was beautiful. He could not deny that. And in the days they had spent together, he had grown to care for her. Her strength, her intelligence, her smile when she laughed. He would be lying if he said he felt nothing for her, but this was wrong. No, he said. Vela blinked, her hands dropped to her sides. No? I don't accept. I won't accept. Why? There was confusion in her voice, and something that might have been hurt. Am I not enough? Is there something wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. You're amazing, but I can't accept this. Why not? He took a deep breath. He needed to find the right words. Because you're not mine to accept. You don't belong to me. You don't belong to anyone except yourself. She shook her head. You saved my life. In my culture, I know what your culture says, but in my culture, people are not property. Helping someone doesn't mean you own them. Saving someone's life doesn't make them your slave. I would not be your slave. I would be your... It doesn't matter what word you use. You would be giving up your freedom, your choices, your future. And you would be doing it because you feel you have to, not because you want to. Her eyes were bright with tears now. Then how do I repay you? How do I balance this debt? Dae-ho stepped closer to her. He looked into her silver eyes and spoke from his heart. You don't have to repay me. I didn't help you because I wanted payment. I helped you because you needed help, that's all. The only thing I want in return is to know that you're safe and free and living the life you choose. Vela stared at him. Tears ran down her blue cheeks, but she did not wipe them away. I don't understand you, she whispered. I have traveled to many worlds. I have met many species, but I have never met anyone like you. Maybe that's a good thing. She laughed through her tears. Then she did something that surprised him. She stepped forward and put her arms around him. She held him tight, her face against his chest. He hesitated for a moment. Then he put his arms around her too. He held her gently, carefully, like she was something precious. They stood like that for a long time. Neither of them spoke. They just held each other in the quiet hangar, with the repaired ship waiting beside them. Finally, Vela pulled back. She wiped her eyes and took a breath. I don't know where to go, she said. If I go back to Korath space, Torek will find me. He will never stop hunting me. Dae-ho had been thinking about this. He had an answer ready. Go to human space. Human space? We have colonies that accept refugees, people who are running from danger, people who need a new start. He went to a computer panel and typed in some coordinates. There's a station called New Harbor. It's 3 days from here at normal speed. They won't ask questions. They'll give you a place to live and work. You'll be safe there. Vela looked at the coordinates on the screen. You're sending me to live among humans. I'm sending you to live among people who understand freedom, who won't treat you like property. He paused. And who might help you understand why I said no. She looked at him with those silver eyes that saw so much. "Maybe I want to understand," she said. "Maybe I want to learn what makes humans different." "Then New Harbor is a good place to start." She nodded slowly. She downloaded the coordinates into her ship's computer. Then she turned back to Daeho. "I will never forget you," she said. "And I still owe you a debt, even if you won't let me repay it. Someday, somehow, I will find a way." "I'll be here," he said. "If you ever need me." She smiled. It was a sad smile, but real. "Thank you, Daeho, for everything." "You're welcome, Vela." She turned and walked toward her ship. Then she stopped and looked back one more time. "I will come back," she said. "When I understand. When I know how to repay you properly. I will come back." He nodded. "I'll be waiting." She climbed into the ship and closed the hatch. Through the window, he could see her sitting in the pilot's seat, looking at him. She raised her hand in a gesture of goodbye. He raised his hand in return. Then he stepped back and watched her prepare to leave. The ship's engines started to glow. The sound filled the hangar, and Daeho stood there alone, waiting to say goodbye to the first friend he had made in 3 years, waiting for the last part of their story. The hangar doors opened, and the cold of space rushed in. Daeho stood behind a safety barrier, watching Vela's ship lift off the ground. The engines glowed bright blue. The sound was deep and strong. He had rebuilt that engine with his own hands, piece by piece, and now it was singing. It was beautiful. Vela's voice came through the station speakers. "Daeho, can you hear me?" "I hear you," he said. "Systems look good from here. How does it feel?" "It feels perfect. Better than it ever did before." There was a pause. "You are very good at what you do." "Just doing my job." "It was more than a job. We both know that." He did not answer. He just watched the ship hover in the middle of the hangar, blue light reflecting off the metal walls. "I'm going to say something," Vela said, "and I want you to listen." "I'm listening. When I crashed on this asteroid, I was ready to die. Not just because of my injuries, because I had nothing left. My family was gone. My home was gone. I was running from a man who wanted to own me, and I knew he would never stop. I had no hope." Daeho stood very still, listening to every word. "Then you found me. You saved me. You spent 2 weeks fixing my ship and taking care of me. You refused to let me give up. And when I offered myself to you to pay my debt the only way I knew how, you said no." Her voice cracked slightly, but she kept going. "You said no because you wanted me to be free. You wanted me to choose my own life. No one has ever given me that gift before. Not my family, not my people, not anyone." Daeho felt his eyes getting wet. He blinked hard and kept watching the ship. "I don't know how to repay that, Daeho. I don't know if I ever can. But I'm going to try. I'm going to go to your human station. I'm going to learn about your people. And I'm going to find a way to be worthy of what you gave me." "You don't have to be worthy of anything," he said. "You just have to live. That's enough. For you, maybe, but not for me. I need to do more." The ship started moving toward the hangar doors, slowly at first, then faster. "Wait," Daeho said. The ship stopped. He walked to a storage locker and opened it. Inside was a small device, a communicator. He had made it 2 days ago, working late at night when Vela was sleeping. He took the communicator to an airlock and put it in a small container. Then he launched the container toward the ship. "Catch," he said. A mechanical arm extended from Vela's ship and grabbed the container. A moment later, her voice came back on the speaker. "What is this?" "A communicator. It's connected to my station. If you're ever in trouble, if you ever need help, use it. I'll come." "Daeho." Her voice was soft. "You can't promise that. You don't know where I'll be. You don't know what I'll need." "I'll come anyway." Silence. Then a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. "You are impossible," she said. "I know." More silence. The ship hung in the space between the hangar and the stars. Deho could see Vela through the window, her blue face lit by the control panels. "I will contact you," she said, "when I reach New Harbor. Just so you know I'm safe." "I'd like that." "And Deho?" "Yes?" "When I come back someday, and I will come back, I want to learn to do what you do. I want to learn to fix things." He smiled. "I'll teach you." "Promise?" "Promise." Another pause. Then Vela's voice came one last time, strong and clear. "Goodbye, Park Deho. Thank you for my life." "Goodbye, Vela. Thank you for making my life less quiet." The ship moved forward, passing through the hangar doors into the open space beyond. Deho watched it go. It flew past the rocks and dust of the asteroid field, getting smaller and smaller against the black sky. Then it was gone. Deho stood there for a long time looking at the stars. The hangar was empty now. The silence was back. But somehow, it felt different than before. He closed the hangar doors and walked back to his living quarters. Everything was the same as it had been 2 weeks ago. The same furniture, the same machines, the same recycled air, but he was not the same. He made himself dinner and sat at his small table. He talked to Bomi about the work that needed to be done tomorrow. He cleaned his tools and put them away. Normal things, quiet things. But in his chest, he carried something new, a warm feeling that had not been there before. A connection to another person across the great empty distance of space. Days passed, then weeks. Deho went back to his routine. He salvaged old ships. He fixed machines. He sold parts to traders who passed through the area. Life went on. But he kept the communicator with him at all times. He checked it every morning and every night, just in case. One evening, 3 weeks after Vela left, the communicator made a sound. A small beep, a signal. Deho grabbed it and looked at the screen. A message was coming through. He opened it. There was no text. No coordinates, no request for help, just a recording, a voice. Vela's voice. "Hello, Deho. I reached New Harbor. I am safe. The humans here are kind. They gave me a place to stay and work to do. It is strange here, but good strange. I am learning many things." A pause. He could hear her breathing. "I think about you often. I think about your station and your workshop and your AI friend. I think about the way you work with your hands, so careful and patient. I miss watching you fix things." Another pause. Longer this time. "I still don't understand you. I still don't know why you helped me without wanting anything back. But I'm trying to understand. The humans here, they help each other too. Not because of debt, not because of law, just because they want to. I am starting to see what you meant." He could hear emotion in her voice now. Not sadness exactly. Something deeper. "Thank you, Deho, for saving my life, for fixing my ship, for saying no when I offered myself to you. I understand now why you did it. You wanted me to choose my own path. And I am choosing to be free." Silence. Then one more word. Soft, gentle, in his own language, spoken carefully like she had practiced it many times. "Gomawo." "Thank you." The message ended. Deho sat in his chair holding the communicator. He played the message again. Then he smiled. It was a small smile, but real. The realest thing he had felt in a long time. He looked out his window at the stars. Somewhere out there, she was living her new life, learning, growing, becoming free. And someday, she would come back. He would be here. He would be waiting. And maybe, when she returned, he would have new things to teach her, new machines to fix, new stories to share. Until then, he had his work, his station, his quiet life. And for the first time in 3 years, That life did not feel so lonely anymore. He put down the communicator and picked up his tools. There was always something to fix, always something to make better. That was enough.